8 months and 20 or so videos later, finally I've figured out my niche. So I know there's a lot of talk about figuring out your niche and starting with content that's very focused on a specific niche and all of that beautiful stuff. But for somebody that's young and wants to do things and just ambitious, it's tough to really think about a tiny thing. Like, how do I pick one thing and only create content about that? So instead of crying about what's my niche and making a huge fuss about it and just not starting at all, I said fuck it and just uploaded my first video. So here we are 8 months later, and I think I might have kind of figured out my niche. So let's talk about it. To begin with, what is niche? Niche to me, at least in terms of content, is something that I want to talk about. And it's quite simple, really. If you want to talk about something, the easier it is to create content. So that's the first thing when it comes to figuring out your niche. What is true to you? And a lot of us, we just try to become this person so that we're able to create content. And that's a really messed up part to go down, because for multiple reasons, like I can go on, like you will lose yourself trying to become somebody. And the other day I was watching this video where they're measuring brain waves for people and their reactions to certain emotions and what created higher brain waves, which made them feel better and all of those beautiful things. And it turns out that being authentic is what created the highest brain waves. Being authentic to yourself, more than love, more than sex, more than any of it, being authentic. So to figure out your niche, you really need to be true to yourself. Let's talk about why it's important for us to find our niche. First thing is, only when you figure out your niche will you be able to stick with it. If you're passionate about what you're creating, the process is much more easier. If you're faking something, if you're being somebody else, if you're being artificial and all of that stupid things, then you're probably going to struggle at staying consistent with creating content. Because think about it, front of the camera, you're somebody, you're trying to be somebody, you're putting on this facade, you're putting on this fake face. How long is it going to last? At some point, that's going to eat away at your personality and make you a sad person even, because that's literally what a lot of actors are. They become this fake person for the media, for the cameras, for all of it, and they lose themselves in the process. And that's why most actors are depressed, or I don't know the stats of it, but generally that's how it is. So finding out what you're passionate about, what do you love to do? It could be anything. It could be things that, are small, things that nobody really talks about. And the beauty of being the niche or finding your niche is it's things that is true to you. It doesn't have to be true to 2000 people. And something that we don't often realize is there is someone out there who can relate to your niche. It's not necessarily that just because your niche or your passion is something that's weird, that doesn't mean there's somebody out there, there is nobody out there that can relate to it. There is definitely somebody out there who can relate to your niche or your passion. Okay, now here's how I figured out my niche. Well, the first thing with figuring out your niche and content is just starting. I think that whole cycle of I don't have a niche, I don't know what to create content about, is a loop that I see a lot of people get stuck in. And in life in general, like if we want to start something or if we want to do something, we get stuck in the loop that, oh yeah, I don't know what to do. And that's honestly just an excuse. So instead of breaking your head, if you're somebody that's starting out on your YouTube journey, I would highly suggest not focusing too much on your niche. Like just throw that shit aside and just get right into it. Like, in fact, there's this kid called Sumer who I've been helping create content. He's right behind the camera right now, in fact. He is starting out on his YouTube journey, and I'll have his channel linked down once it's up. But I was telling him, like, about your first video, just go out there and dump it. Like, literally, like, the reality of it is, as much as it might hurt, nobody really cares. Because at the end of the day, if you're doing it for somebody else, if you're doing it for somebody else's validation, then you're probably doing it for the wrong reason to begin with. So your first video, just get it out there. And like I said, it took me 8 months of video creation later, and I still didn't figure out my niche until now. And I'm not sure this is my niche even now. But you know what? I think I like this idea and I want to stick to it. The next thing is look back and front. So a lot of times when you're figuring out a niche, I know this myself because I was thinking about, okay, I want to create a YouTube channel. What do I want to become? What do I want people to see like out of this channel? What do I see the future of this channel as? And that is important because that's ideally where, especially if you're somebody that doesn't have a lot of skills and doesn't have a lot to talk about, like myself, I'm a young guy, I don't have too many skills acquired under my belt, but I do know where I want to be, and I do know the skills that it might require to get there. And that's why looking forward helped. Now, looking backwards is useful simply because what has made you who you are? Who are you as a person? And for me, that had to do like with sports, that had to do with the guy that's lived in a different country, the guy that's not been in a normal education system for most of my life. All of these different beautiful things. That is what has made me who I am today. And that's something that I didn't do for a long time with my niche. I was just looking forward. I was like, where do I want this channel to go? Where do I want the viewers to be? Like, what kind of viewers do I want? What do I want to talk about? What do I want to become while I'm doing this whole thing? And I sort of forgot that, dude, I have lived on this planet for 23 years. What about all of that? Sure, it doesn't mean anything, like our lives are not really that important. But for me, as a channel or as a creator, what has made me me? And that's basically it. Where you've been and where do you want to go? As simple as that. Now, in my case, for example, that was the athlete that failed. That's one of the biggest things that I was able to draw out of looking back. The athlete that wanted to do football and wanted to pursue a career out of it, wanted to make something out of it, and really gave it his everything but failed. And in the future, I want to translate that same athletic mentality, because a lot of what we learn when we are playing sports or doing anything rigorous of like athletic activity, we sort of challenge ourselves and push ourselves to extremes physically and mentally a lot of times. And in my case, I didn't win a lot either. So I know that was difficult and that is a whole different circumstance in itself. But by doing that, I built what I think could be useful for me to begin my entrepreneurial journey or this whole money game that I'm playing. So to link those two, the athlete that failed, and I'm sure there are a lot of athletes out there that can relate to me, because think about it, Olympics is like the topmost sport in terms of athletics, and sports in general. But there's only even though there are a lot of people, there's a select few people that make it up there. What about all the millions of people that try and don't? And I'm part of those. And I'm sure there are different paths that a lot of us have chosen. And somehow, I don't know, maybe if I can make something good out of my path, then I can help somebody out there who tomorrow probably fails as an athlete and help them jump on this path. So it's an athlete and an entrepreneur. So those are the two things that my niche is going to be completely focused on going forward. In case you've been sticking around for all of my previous videos and these two topics do not relate to you, then please, I hate to say it, but I hope you enjoyed your time here. Feel free to unsubscribe or dislike this video or do whatever you want. I know I might lose some followers or might lose some growth in this whole process of transitioning my niche. But at the end of the day, it's what's true to me. It's what's going to help me stick on this journey. And it's who I want to become even. So that's pretty much how I figured out my niche. Again, I'm going to say this again. If you're beginning out on your content creation journey, or even just figuring out yourself for that matter. Speaking of which, my next video is going to be talking about how I figured out my purpose, which is something that I'm sure a lot of us can relate to. But I think I might have got an idea of what my purpose might be too. So stick around for that if you want to watch that video. But if you're going to start your content creation journey and you do not know your niche and you're like stressing about, I need to figure out my niche, like Dhruv has got his niche figured out, I need to, like, stop it. Just start. Please just upload that first video, get it out there, and you'll figure it out along the way. There is a lot of thinking that goes on because you're uploading videos. The whole world is seeing you. You're going to constantly be thinking, what do I want to create videos about? What do I want to do? What do I want to do? I don't want to embarrass myself, but what do I want to do? And in that process, I'm sure you'll just figure out your niche. Again, like I said, look back and look forward, and that should really help you out. Thank you guys for making it this far into the video. I hope you enjoyed the podcast that I uploaded last week. It's again related to entrepreneurship, which is something that my niche is going to be focusing on going forward. If you want to learn about a woman that is changing our country, she's impacted so many lives and she has a beautiful journey and a story to share, go ahead and check it out. I'll have it show up over here. But that's it for this video, guys. Stay tuned for the next video and like, share, and subscribe, and bye.